today. Our committees have finished their work for this year outside of the benefits committee. So I'll look forward to hearing a little bit more on that once we get to a point that we can get together again. But today our focus is the memorandum of understanding. And we came today with a proposal that we can go through. And I do have the things that weren't already draft consensus printed. But like digital formats, this has all the links to everything as well. So the first couple items, actually that one's not first. This is are just our draft consensus items. Oops, sorry. Days we've moved those into draft consensus the last couple of weeks. Blackout days I didn't reprint. That link just takes you to a Google Doc that has the last update on blackout days that we moved into draft consensus last week. So today we're going to focus mostly on the last items. Appraisal and the OKEEP handbook is coming out.
I thought we were.
Yeah, this is
the first thing up there, so I thought that's why I then switched it again because that's the
no. This is first.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. We're gonna do appraisal first because it'll be the thing that requires the most brain power. Although I think we do have most things kind of worked out. That's okay. Yes, I just know my stamina for thinking is gliding downhill. So. And normally I don't print big things like the handbook, but since we are getting down to the nitty gritty and trying to get everything as finalized and as perfect as we can, sometimes it's easier to see little silly things when it's printed out on paper. So that's why I did print it. And there's a few items that I would like to kind of talk about as we go through. So the first item is the policy language on appraisal. What I did for the tracking changes is I took the changes accepted version that Dr. Stig presented last week and then made changes to that. So hopefully that makes sense. The first paragraph, the only change was, I believe, the statute number that Chris mentioned last week. I did go ahead and move up the educators and administrators jointly develop the process just in that first paragraph, just because it was kind of like all hanging out by itself. On the bulleted list, I just marked out KSDE statutes just because it seemed like it was kind of extra information there. You'll notice that appraisal is an ongoing collaborative process. That information is supposed to be showing up in green. It's not showing up very well, but it was originally in our original language and it got struck out. And that was just something that was a sentence that we thought really resonated with how we approached this. So we just are asking to put that back in. The appraisal continuum, that part was in Dr. Stig's draft that she had last time. The OKEEP. Oh yeah. Yes, so that I added back in, but it was in the original language. That next section is just what Dr. Stig introduced last time. And then the second to last paragraph is new, and it's really kind of forward facing, and I think it aligns with everything that I've heard from our district in terms of artificial intelligence, but it's just kind of a kind of looking forward to, we know there's a lot of products being developed right now around artificial intelligence. So the suggested language is all appraisal outcomes shall reflect the independent professional judgment of a trained licensed evaluator and shall not be made solely on the basis of artificial intelligence generated data, metrics, or analytics. And I think a really important part of that language is the solely. We understand that educators may use AI in appropriate ways for what used to be called Standard 6. It's possible that an appraiser might use AI to kind of help put some notes together. What we're really looking at here is we don't ever want an appraisal process where AI is driving the train. And then I think that last sentence, appraisal will not be used as a disciplinary tool, that might have been left out of Dr. Sig's draft, but I think it might have just been that the page was cut off. Because it wasn't like marked out, if I recall. So we just put that back in. And I've got a couple things tagged in the handbook. Most of them are just a couple minor edits. Do you want me to go ahead and move on to the handbook? Do you want another moment to process the policy language? Okay. All right, when I printed the handbook, magically some page numbers disappeared. So that'll be fun for us today. The first thing I tagged was just in the table of contents, and it's you can see it's in the right-hand column with the comment. I was just acknowledging that there's a section in this handbook that traditionally we haven't had in the agreement, the actual rubric. So the intent would be like we did last year with the pilot program. We took that section out. So that would be the intent unless we decide otherwise. And then if you go to the page after the table of contents, you've got some blue and some green comments, and I'll let Megan, we just started reading some sentences and had a hard time processing them. So what did you notice?
That first blue where it's the observation, the sentence reads, rigorous evaluation systems provide multiple opportunities for the educator or leader observation and data collection. I didn't know if there's like a word missing there. Or or
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain. This was taken from a lot of this was taken from the original Keep State document. So I think we have some latitude here.
Yeah.
You're right, it doesn't read right.
I mean, it seems to me that the spirit is probably that rigorous evaluation systems have multiple opportunities for educators and leaders to get observed and collect data.
That's the intent. But
Just took out the word "the."
or
Oh.
educator or leader observation.
educator really.
Yeah, I like
Amazing. Okay, we fixed it.
I'm an English teacher.
Yeah, no, I was trying to.
I was like, something in here is not making sense.
The next sentence, and it could be my reading. I think maybe we just took out the word judgment. The sentence would flow, but the instruments mandate evidence-based performance decisions described in judgment rubrics. Okay, rubrics, including observations,
Yeah.
Okay. There are several places, several other places where I found evaluate was supposed to be evaluatee, educator. So those are all marked, but I'm not going to talk about all of those because those are very editorial. You'll notice on the next page, you see some red, and I'm a lot of those, if you see two words next to each other and it's marked out and it's replaced with the same two words, it's usually that there was just like two spaces between them. So I won't hit any of those because again, it's all very editorial. I think the next, I don't know if I would call it substantial change, but non-editorial change Would be on the page labeled educator recommendations towards the bottom.
That's the next one that has comments off to the
The
side.
next one with comments is a better way to say it.
In this, it reads, fourth year educators rated as developing or ineffective on the instructional practices summary rating will be placed on an intensive supervision plan that may lead to due process or non-renewal. I was just, do we have intensive supervision plan defined somewhere?
No, we changed that when we did the work on building support plan and district support plan. So I'm wondering if we don't change that to just say educator support plan, because that's the heading under both building and district. But I would be open to either. Yeah, we scratched intensive support plans. That just got missed in the
Perfect.
filter of it.
So educator support plan.
Yeah, I think that's the,
Okay.
and then that's the heading. That's both building and district. So it could fall
Perfect.
under. Calling that.
The out of cycle evaluation, again, that's all fairly editorial changes. I think we finally got that. That's the language we probably worked on the most. And I think we got it finally. The next page that has, I don't know if it's super substantial, but I'll mention it. Under the page that the heading is district support plan process. There were just a few places where it said appraisee. And so I just changed it to educator for consistency, but I do like appraisee better than evaluatee.
Yeah,
But
you like it better than educator.
I like the educator, yeah, because I think evaluatee and appraiser is like something being done to you. Just changed some fonts, so nothing substantial there. Educator support plan will fit on 2 pages when it doesn't have comments. And then under evaluation requirements, we had a member of the committee reach out, maybe Friday, about the out of cycle deadlines aren't included in the evaluation requirements, and that might, for clarity's sake, be helpful. And I think maybe we could just do anyone, any two / out of cycle. Okay. So wherever you see anyone, any two, we could just add another slash. Okay. The OPS appraisal process, just the graphic, it uses evaluatee, and I couldn't change it. I don't know if it might be a screenshot. Okay, yeah.
But we can work on it.
Yeah.
Because
After the OPS appraisal process blue blob thing, the rest of it for a while is the rubric. So this is where we would not have the pages, but I included them.
Yep.
And it just kind of goes.
Until the glossary.
Yes. And then I noticed on page numbers are back, page 35. I think the word glossary actually goes below that table. I think the table just got moved.
Yeah.
So that's pretty easy. Yeah. And then otherwise, I think all of the other changes are editorial. I did find a space on page 38 where the word observation needs a double space before it to separate it from multiple measures.
So I have some content questions.
Yes.
So those are editorial, like, formatting things. I went through things just kind of with the fine tooth comb of like thinking of the questions that may arise. And so just trying to get ahead of those, which may help with like how to launch this thing to the greater, and maybe just some things that like require some clarification. So the first area where I really had any like big questions was when it includes the Kansas Performance Matrix under calculating the final summative evaluation rating.
Yep.
On that page. The green box are the constructs, I'm assuming. And so the first one is student learning, but we seem to be calling that learner and learning. And so that was just one of those like,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then where did it go? There was something about the list. The list of measures. It mentions like the Kansas like state list, which is the one that's kind of in that group above that. But then also like something like Olathe or like district specific list. Is that just the items that are included in the rubric?
Are you on?
Let me see what I'm on for that. I highlighted it, no. Which one? Well, so it mentions that there's a list of the items that can be included for student measure. Oh, under selecting student performance methods. It says, in addition to this KSEE default list, the Olathe appraisal process also provides a list of student performance measures by positions or content area.
So that,
Mhm.
that is currently found in my file library now.
Okay,
It's broken down for standard 6 purposes.
gotcha.
It does need a little TLC, but that's a partnership that'll have to take place with learning services. There was PD the last time with it, but it has a lot of really good examples, I think, that are still relevant. So that's, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, okay, so the evaluation requirements. This is where there's a lot of highlights here, so bear with me. For the steps that are required, the deadlines are very tight, right? The timelines are very tight. And the statute just references that it's 60 school days. So is this where we would be splitting hairs of like, it's not contract days, but it's school days, right? So for the NE1 and NE2s, right, for first and second years or off cycles, the like initial kind of orientation to the process is needs to happen by September 15th. And I think the hope is that that would kind of be a pre-service thing,
Yes.
sort of all that. But like in the event that that gets put off for whatever reason, if it's September 15th, the first like what was it? The first student performance data is due October 1st. So that's like a really short timeline there. Yeah, and then then that's another, it's only like 29 school days between September 15th and November 1st. So like that just seems like a really tight timeline to have pre-conference, observation, post-conference, like all of that. So that was just one thing.
Yeah, no, it's something that the committee talked about for months, actually.
Mhm.
Initially, our pilot, we had it due, we pushed it back to November 1st because it was initially due October 15th. And so, yeah, we realized that was really tight.
Yeah.
So the student performance data piece that we added is self-imposed a little bit, just to give some deadlines for a month before it's actually due. So we mirrored that to what we currently do for January 15th for career educator for their standard 6. So we thought that would be helpful to just have a time in mind to have it due. There is no penalty if you don't hit that date for the student performance data due. That's just, again, something we put in to remind staff that it's due, and it's actually due formally in a month. We pushed it back to November 1 for any ones and any twos, and February 1. Which the summit is, I'm sorry, November 1 and March, not February. Because we knew that was pushing the 60-day limit from the state statute, but also it gave us, it's not right up to the 11th hour. It gave us, I think, about a week in case there was an absence, in case there was an emergency. We still had some time to have that as a cushion. So we pushed it as far back as we thought we could within the 6-day limit, while still providing a little bit of cushion in case there's something that happened. But we did alter it from, we pushed it back 2 weeks from where it was. So that's just driven by the state, like you said, the 60-day piece.
Yeah.
But you're correct, it is a tight. The other thing we talked about with the student performance data is that the state doesn't delineate that it has to be different pieces from the fall to the spring. So we talked about a lot picking the 3 pieces with the new educators, especially in the first couple of years, and using that same piece of data throughout.
Yeah.
So that they can continue to use that as a comparison and a growth area. So
Yeah.
that was our hope too, that we could, yes, it's identified early, but we could use it all year.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that was one of my questions, is like, could they use it as kind of like a growth data throughout all of that? Which is cool. Yes. And then there's references to a post-formal observation feedback meeting and then a final conference. Are those the same or are those different?
So the post-formal observation, funny way to say it. Yeah. Post-op, so that is required. That's the observation, and in our current system, that's only over 3 standards, and then you sit down, you just talk how it pertains to those 3 standards, and then the final or the summative is all 5 standards. Currently, it'll be 4 constructs on this model, so they're a little different on post-op versus summative.
Okay. And so, okay, that makes sense.
We often refer to it as post-observation, so we dropped out the formal.
Yeah.
And I saw that.
Yeah.
I think that's to delineate that you might have an informal
Yeah.
observation that doesn't have
That doesn't have,
a
yes.
post-op. Yeah.
Yes. The informal observations mentioned something about the feedback being electronic or face-to-face. But then that there is an observation form that's completed and submitted. With those informal ones, is there opportunity for educator response for informals?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And there's an opportunity for all educators to respond to all. So absolutely.
And then- And then for the educator completes the self-assessment and develops their goals, it says that the appraiser provides documented feedback on self-assessment. Is there a deadline for that?
That was September 15th.
That's the September, for that, all of those things. Okay.
And they could technically complete the self-assessment and develop goals. It's no later than September 15th, so they could do it during pre-service or anytime before. We actually talked in detail about how we maybe can do that with new educator ones during the first 3 days.
Yeah.
That's still in the air right now, but talking just about that piece.
Okay, I think that was all the questions about the evaluation.
I just noticed one more thing, Julia.
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed this.
No.
So, for Career Educator 3, observation no later than February 15th makes sense. The IPP summary conference, February 15th makes sense. Final conference, February 15th makes sense. The student performance data, I thought we talked about that being January 15th.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be.
And would that be that would then be the same with any 3 and any 4? Okay. Yeah, because that gives them the month.
So for the one where it has the 3 standards that they're, is that based on the standards that they make their goals on? So like it would be different for each individual educator, or is it just 3?
The student performance measure.
Well, the formal observation. Or is the formal observation all of those standards?
It would be learner learning, content knowledge, and instructional practice.
Okay.
The professional responsibility one is not necessarily part of the formal observation.
Oh, another editorial change that I found is under construct 4, just the numbering of them. Oh, reflection and continuous growth is twice, never mind. So there's 4.1, 4.2, and then 4.1.
Oh, and the rubric.
Yeah. But I realize now it's the same statement. Ooh, and then I had about more specific questions about the support plan process as well. So in the support plan that we had that was like taken out because that was edited more. In the beginning where with the educator support plans and then the building support plan, it says that appraisers may increase the number of observations. Is there a limit to how many? Or is there a number?
We did not discuss that other than it's a collaborative, we really talked about it being together and developed. The other thing is, we now have the ability just in the system itself to add the appraisal, like observation forms, and you have to add it. So nice thing about that piece is it's on both sides. You have to acknowledge it. You have to see that it's there. It'll show up in the educator's platform as well. So adding a formal observation, you would add that form and it would show up both ways. And so I think the intent with that was just in that process, collaborating and meeting in on the whatever it is and saying, let's do another formal observation. I'm gonna add that form. And then that process would just everything about that process replicates, right? The formal observation, the post observation, the acknowledgement of it, etc.
And then in the process, like it references a reasonable length of time. Is there any, like, what does that typically look like?
That is a good question. And it's something we discuss in committee quite a bit as well. So our current language is 60-day minimum. And just speaking from experience, I've had success in 30 days. And, because you can get quite a bit done with some collaborations, some check-ins, some observations. There's a plethora of things you can do, obviously. But so I think what that is the idea of 30 to, without stating, it's probably 30 to 60 days. We know that 2 weeks is too short of a time to respond to an intervention and see any fidelity.
Yeah.
But we also don't want a frustrated educator going, I keep doing this. You keep saying you're like, what do we do after so many days?
Right.
And so I think the intent is probably 30 to 60 days, but it's really based off of how the response to interventions are going and then that collaboration.
Yeah. Because it just seems like when you break it all down, it's in that amount of time, it's 2 observations. And then each observation has a pre-conference and a post-conference. And then it also references 2 additional monthly meetings. So in that 60 days, that would be 2, 4, 6, 8 meetings, plus any additional observations that are deemed appropriate in that time. And so I'm sure like once you get to that point, it's very collaborative, but like that's a lot of meetings that are happening during plans and supervisions, and like an overwhelmed educator being taken out 8 times over a 60-day period is a lot as well. So that was just something that, like, putting it all together, like, I think it's helpful and it sounds like it's a process that has success. But just to, I don't know if a longer period of time or like just kind of working within those parameters. And then I noted, like, just an observation that the district support plan process, where it says that the educator may need some or all of these. There's 15 items on that list. This is, again, as an observation of that, like and then for the appraiser side of it, there's 11 items that are on that list. So that's just a lot of involvement, which is good. At that point, it's necessary, but just thinking about the amount of time. And then it mentions that in both the building support and the district support plan area, that the forms will be retained in their personnel files. Is there a limit for how long it's retained there, or does that fall away after a certain amount of time, or like, what does that process look like?
Yeah, we currently don't have any limitation on the amount of time it's in there. However, that's a question we do get a lot just in my department, and it's a good question. We don't share those with, there's some employers in our area that require transcripts for your professional development. They require transcripts for, your longevity, et cetera. That is all fine. We don't provide anything with employee consequence of any kind, or they can, if it's documented in the appraisal, do that, but so is anything else in the file. So if there's a written response with that, we would send that for the transparency piece. So a lot of times it's for just the evaluation and verification of experience from other districts. So that's what we do. So anything associated with that, we go with it.
I think that kind of. Thank you.
I think I just had a question, not necessarily on this, but with the pilot program, I know the committee met about once a month and they had done the survey for feedback. Is there a plan kind of for that if this goes district-wide to be able to get some feedback on a much larger?
We talked at our last committee meeting that we'd be on, this was to go through, we'd probably be on a progress monitoring phase of the same thing. So we've got a lot of the surveys built. To be fair and apples to apples, we'd probably replicate, if not do the same one, at the same stages for the same folks, and getting that feedback and seeing, because we know there's still going to be things that are found that are not accurate to the job. This rubric could be better if, or things like that. So we would want updates and feedback pretty consistently through that. So short answer, that's a long answer, but short answer would be yes.
And then just as a building who did the pilot and listened to like the voiceover PowerPoint, will it be adjusted based on all the things
Yeah.
that have gone throughout the year?
And thank you for being the pilot. We discovered a lot through the pilot process. And so we really need to go deeper. Some of the things would still work there, but the whole thing will have to be reworked, especially the PowerPoint that we base it off of, especially with the goal piece as well. The goals were fairly a good topic of conversation, and rightfully so. So there's some things we've definitely learned that we want to elaborate on and spend a little more time in the training to explain that piece and the self-assessment a little better.
I want to say thank you and the committee for the work that you did on the back end and outside of the committee meetings to get all of this in the 3-year process that it's been.
Yeah, it's a good work. I mean, the committee is comprised of a lot of really great folks and a lot of good input from the pilots as well. So thanks for being part of the pilot and going along and providing feedback. It was really truly evaluated. Every comment was read by the committee. We had it ahead of time. We talked about it, and the committee is excited. It's exciting as an appraisal could be. They're excited.
Yes. Right, kind of going back to the MOU proposal, the conference guidelines for Mill Creek and 2-year academies. Megan brought up a good point last time about some of the language didn't quite fit. It's kind of extra. You already passed those out.
No, we stopped.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I failed to track changes on what's coming to you, so I will point out nothing substantial, just trying to take away some extra information like the word pilot, since it will no longer be a pilot.
Yeah.
We didn't even call it a pilot. You'll notice at the top, before each set of bullets, that was 2 or 3 sentences, and now I just got it down to 1 sentence. I know Megan pointed out a couple things last time about spacing and what have you, so I changed a couple of those. I do notice now in the third bullet on each one of them, Mill Creek says 1 hour with a 1, and then 2-year academies has 1 hour spelled out, so I'll fix that. I think my big question, because there was no substantial changes to this, is if this language is gonna go in Appendix B with the conference guidelines, which I think is what we talked about.
Yeah.
Do we need the last bullet that says Mill Creek educators will abide by the best practices suggested in Appendix B?
I feel like that's referring to itself.
It is referring to itself. It's very self-aware in that way. I could see it being there as a clarification, like, yes, even though the details are different, the spirit of conferences is the same. But
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Well, and the
We put it, so we'll put it at the end of that.
yeah, it will no longer be 1 page. But I think we got that font as probably smaller than it needs to be, so we can just make it front back.
the 2-year academies, says the 24-25 negotiated agreement.
We
Need to
we
take out
love
those
that,
years.
yeah. Thank you.
Just say, oh, the
This is
negotiated.
the evidence that no matter how much you look at things, you will miss them. Thank you.
Really getting picky. The second bullet has 3:15 PM to 8:15 PM, and then the third bullet says 3:15 to 4:15 PM. I teach music, so I don't quite know when we need the PMs.
Gotcha. I'll
But
make it
there's a lot of
consistent.
PMing happening there.
Somebody will point it out later, so the little things, we catch it now.
I guess my question on best practices part, what best practices is it? Everything, there's pretty specific to
Yeah,
elementary and secondary. And if there were some generic best practice.
yeah,
I'm not sure what.
Okay. Strike that bullet.
Yeah.
fewer words, yay.
Was that part that they had come up with? In that.
Yeah,
language?
and I think when it was in the variance, and I think the spirit of that was, again, that it's the same number of hours. We just are cutting it up. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I did print the professional learning calendar one more time. The only change on this is that district's application day in January. Jenna went ahead and changed that to say standard 6 instead of say construct 5 instead of standard 6. So that would line up with the language. So that was very minor, but since there was a change, I went ahead and printed it. And then the last item in this packet is the grade and reporting dates. This was just what I failed to print off last time, so I printed it this time.
The last page of the professional learning, that box is cut off. Is that just
Yes, it
some
is.
sort of weird thing that's happening?
I'll ask Jenna.
Thank you. It's with the page numbers on the other.
They're all living together. so-
Yes, they are.
Actually, there's a whole bunch of space up top there. Everything else under 1, 2, 3, 4, under the 4th box there that I didn't print, like the 27, 28 district calendar. I didn't print it again because there have been no changes. And then the last item that we have in our MOU proposal is the middle school cheer and dance head and assistant. And I think Eric, you mentioned this last time. just about those jobs. While all of our jobs are always changing, there was a rather significant change. So we thought that might help the program's consistency for them to know what they would make for next year. We would all love that, we know. But we do know there was a unique circumstance there that changed kind of their day-to-day reality.
Clarify just to make sure we say it out loud that we anticipate the rest of the ECAS recommendation can still be part of the conversation. We just think it's flashing red siren that need attention now.
I believe that was, I did the math and it's in the slide notes. $60,000.
36,680 is the number you have on the slide.
There we go. There were threes and there were sixes. So there you go. Yeah. So there is a cost to that, obviously.
And then the 26-27 employment calendar,
Oh, thank you for
That-
mentioning that.
that would be updated with the blackout days
Yes.
based on the
Based on-
language.
Yeah. So I didn't print that one yet. We haven't had a chance to look at their chance to get that updated, but that would be something people would probably want to see corrected before they are voting on an MOU, but yes. We need to caucus on the MOU as a whole, or?
We're good with everything that's listed up
Okay.
there. Elementary plans. Crazy. Those are all the ones I have. on the list.
Is that a double ding?
I think so, yeah, yeah.
Now we just gotta get it out and get the bargaining unit and the board to vote on it. So we'll work on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you all again for your time at professional council.
We'll see you again in
It for next year. Yes, can't wait.
We're gonna make